Introduction. He arrived with nothing but a suitcase and a decision. No influence, no money, no credentials that impressed anyone in the room. He had already lived long enough to know disappointment, and yet he carried himself as though his future had already been settled, quietly, firmly, without apology. The man he came to see barely noticed him at first. He looked ordinary, almost forgettable, but there was something in his posture that refused to bow. He did not ask for a job. He did not plead for opportunity. He announced calmly that he had come to become a business associate. Time passed, weeks, months. Nothing seemed to happen. To an outsider, it would have looked like stagnation. A man over 40, earning little, waiting, watching, holding a vision no one else could see. Many would have called him foolish. Most would have gone home. But something was happening inside. Each day, his resolve hardened, his purpose sharpened. He worked where he was placed, not for the wage, but for the chance to prove the man he already believed himself to be. He did not drift. He did not complain. He did not retreat. Then opportunity appeared, but not in the form he expected. It came disguised as indifference. Others dismissed it as unimportant. Salesmen avoided it. They said it could not be sold. But this man recognized something different. He saw a doorway where others saw a wall. That single decision, to act while others hesitated, changed the entire direction of his life. Wealth followed, authority followed, recognition followed, and not because of luck or youth or timing, but because a definite purpose had finally been backed by unwavering persistence. Now listen carefully. This is not a story about a young man starting early. This is not a tale reserved for those with decades ahead of them. This was a man who refused to let age become an excuse and refused to let past delay dictate future outcome. If you are over 40, you know the weight of time differently. You feel the pressure more clearly. You have lived long enough to see plans postponed, promises half kept, potential delayed. And that is exactly why this moment matters more now than ever before. Most men drift quietly after 40. They accept what is, explain why it's too late, and convince themselves that wanting more is foolish. But the truth is harsher. The danger is not wanting too much. It is deciding too little. Life does not deny opportunity because of age. It denies it because of indecision. The same laws that reward the young reward the decisive. The same principles that build fortunes at 30 still work at 50 when they are obeyed. The turning point always comes when a man stops waiting for permission and starts acting from purpose. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now, when clarity replaces hesitation and commitment replaces excuse. The story I have just told you is not legend. It is documented fact. And the man at the center of it was Edwin C. Barnes, the man who thought his way into partnership with Thomas Edison. This is why I say to you now, if you are over 40 and still listening, still searching, still feeling that quiet unrest, this is not the end of your story. It is the moment. It demands decision. What follows will show you why most men miss their turning point and how to recognize yours when it stands before you. Listen as though time itself were listening back, because this may be the hour everything changes. Part 1, the hidden power of a late beginning. Life after 40 is not decline. It is distillation. The years strip illusion, pride, and youthful vanity until only the essential remains, purpose. I have seen men spend their first decades gathering opinions, chasing approval, and serving every distraction but their own ideal. Then one day, when the noise falls away, what remains is truth, and truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. Most men misinterpret time. They believe opportunity fades as years advance. They think vigor alone wins fortunes. Yet I have found that time does not take, it refines. The first 40 years prepare the instrument. The second 40, play it. Age does not remove capacity, it removes confusion. It clarifies. It separates the necessary from the noise. The man who understands this law ceases to mourn lost time, for he realizes that life's first half was his apprenticeship for mastery. A man may spend half his life learning what does not work before he discovers what always does. But once discovered, wisdom compounds faster than youth can run. The years that once felt wasted become capital. What was once pain becomes clarity. The failures that once seemed final become fuel for precision. The truth is that time does not rob men. It prepares them, if they decide to act while their lessons are still warm. The real tragedy is not age, it is indecision. Time itself is harmless until a man wastes it in hesitation. I have watched capable men turn gray waiting for certainty. They say, "I am too old to start again." What they mean is, "I am too afraid to begin." The world punishes hesitation more than failure. Opportunity flees from those who wait for perfect timing. A man who delays his final decision condemns himself to endless wandering. There comes a moment when every man must stop searching and start selecting. I call this the final decision. It is the instant a man chooses his destiny as though it were already his. Until that decision is made, life remains a rehearsal. Afterward, every experience, past and future, falls into order. Purpose is not found. It is decided. Youth waits for permission. Maturity commands itself. That is the dividing line between drifting and destiny. I once told the story of Edwin C. Barnes, who decided to become a business associate of Thomas Edison. Many recall that he arrived poor, without credentials, and was assigned menial work. But few remember that his decision came not at 20, but at an age when men are expected to settle. He had lived enough to know disappointment, yet he declared partnership before earning it. He did not wait for Edison's invitation. He acted as though the position were already his. His will, not his youth, was the key. Months passed, no sign of progress. He was placed at low wages, yet inwardly he worked for ownership, not salary. Then one day, opportunity appeared, dressed as rejection, a product others dismissed as useless. Barnes saw what others ignored, seized it, and made his fortune. He did not discover opportunity by luck. He recognized it because he had trained his mind to see doors where others saw walls. His decision had created perception. Now, imagine the power of that same decision made with the clarity of 40 years behind you. The impulsive dreams of youth are gone. The desperate chase for approval is over. You have suffered enough to know what matters and what does not. This is not decline. It is concentration. All that remains is to choose once and for all what you shall live for, and then act as though delay were treason. Years of disappointment are not punishment. They are preparation. Every denial, every closed door, every apparent detour has been sharpening your sight. Youth rushes blindly toward every open path. Maturity chooses the one that leads upward. The man who has lived and learned possesses something youth never can: discernment. He no longer chases every spark. He knows which flame will burn true. I have studied the biographies of the great and discovered a remarkable pattern. The majority did not create their masterworks until after 40. Edison's most valuable inventions came in the later decades of his life. Lincoln's greatness emerged after a lifetime of failure. Rockefeller built his stability on patience, not speed. These men were not hindered by age. They were focused by it. Colonel Sanders, a name spoken with ease today, began his triumph after 65. He had faced dismissal, debt, and humiliation, yet he refused to accept delay as defeat. He called upon the same law that governed all success, the law of faith in action beyond delay. He knocked on hundreds of doors until one opened. The years behind him were not wasted. They were the tuition for the wisdom he finally applied. A man who has lived long enough to feel regret possesses the raw material for greatness. Regret is only potential misdirected. Once it is turned toward purpose, it becomes power. I say this plainly. The mind over 40 is not weaker. It is sharper, stronger, and steadier. It no longer wastes strength on fantasy. It moves directly toward result. Its emotions run deeper but slower, which means they last longer and strike truer. Indecision, however, is invisible poverty. It drains a man's fortune of thought. A wandering mind spends its riches without realizing it. Every day without a definite aim is a coin lost. Every hesitation is compound interest working against you. The man who learns this truth ceases to speak of running out of time, for he realizes that time obeys the man who uses it. I have met men whose fortunes decline not through mismanagement, but through drifting after success. They mistook comfort for completion. They believed the mountain ended at the first plateau. The result was spiritual death long before the heart stopped beating. Success demands continued growth. The man who stops striving decays, for nature rewards motion, not rest. When I speak to men over 40, I tell them this: your advantage lies not in speed, but in certainty. You have tested enough roads to know which lead to nowhere. Youth must guess. You already know. You have lived long enough to recognize patterns, to detect fraud, to see through empty promises. Your experience, once disciplined, becomes the most accurate compass on earth. All that remains is to trust it. Let me say this with absolute clarity. Habit, not age, determines destiny. The man who disciplines his thought today resets his future entirely. Every day of control adds compound strength. Every repetition of a definite purpose multiplies its power. You cannot change the years behind you, but you can command the hour before you, and the hour before you, rightly used, will redeem the years that seemed lost. Speak this affirmation aloud each morning until it becomes your nature. I am not late, I am prepared. The years behind me were the tuition for the wisdom I now apply. I have seen enough to decide, and I decide now. These words are more than comfort, they are command. They align your subconscious with destiny. What the mind repeats, it believes. What it believes, it executes. Imagine how others will see you when this conviction takes hold. They will sense a quiet steadiness, a dignity born not of arrogance, but of clarity. They will notice that you do not rush, that your words are deliberate, that you move with purpose. You will seem untouchable not because of wealth or youth, but because of the invisible confidence of a man who knows his time has finally arrived. Edison, working through nights when others slept, was not driven by chance. He was moved by faith in continuity, that every failure was a step closer to success. Rockefeller's empire was not built on aggression, but on patience. Lincoln's strength came not from optimism, but from endurance through darkness. These men did not grow weaker with age, they grew inevitable. You must now make the same decision they made. Stop asking whether it is too late and start asking whether you are ready. The years behind you have trained you to see clearly. The years ahead will reward clarity with abundance. You have been gathering materials, now you build. You have been preparing, now you act. This hour is not the end of your story. It is the unveiling of your strength. The turning point begins when you reinterpret time itself. You will no longer say, I wish I had started earlier. You will say, everything I needed, I learned by waiting. You will cease to envy the young, for you will see that their advantage is illusion. Speed without direction ends in circles, but slow, certain movement toward a definite goal arrives every time. Do not look back except to learn. Do not look forward except to plan. Look inward and command. For the man who has lived and learned carries more treasure within than he realizes. Let the younger chase novelty. You shall build permanence. Let others seek attention. You shall seek mastery. Life's true power begins the moment you realize that nothing has been lost, only refined. This is the hidden power of a late beginning. It carries no guesswork, no illusion, no haste. It is pure intention, directed by wisdom, reinforced by faith. Those who discover this truth no longer fear the ticking clock, for they understand that the clock itself obeys decision. For time is never your enemy, indecision is. And the man who decides now, in full awareness of what his years have taught him, enters the most productive season of his life. This is your turning point. Part 2, redirection. There is a secret known only to those who have endured disappointment. Emotion is never destroyed. It is merely waiting to be redirected. Every regret, every frustration, every quiet ache of what could have been is energy locked in the wrong shape. When it is turned toward constructive purpose, it becomes the most potent force a man can command. Most men over 40 do not fail from lack of power. They fail because their power has not yet been aimed. Their energy, hardened by time, is dispersed across regret. Their imagination, instead of building, replays lost chances. They are like rivers that have flooded their banks, powerful but unproductive. Yet once the channel is redirected, the same current lights cities instead of drowning fields. The mind, over 40, feels more deeply than in youth. Its desires burn slower, but their flame is enduring. Properly guided, it becomes a furnace of creation. Improperly guided, it becomes an engine of bitterness. I have witnessed both. The difference is direction, whether thought moves upward toward purpose or backward toward self-pity. Let me tell you of a man who chose correctly. F.W. Woolworth, ridiculed for his 5-cent idea, turned rejection into enterprise. His superiors laughed, the public doubted. Yet his self-belief converted mockery into motivation. He said, "I will build what others call impossible." And he did. He turned failure's energy into faith's momentum. That is the essence of redirection. Many call it persistence, but persistence without redirection is mere stubbornness. True persistence is intelligent re-aiming, the deliberate decision to use life's blows as building material. Every emotion that seems destructive can become power when repurposed by thought. This is what I call mental reinvestment, converting yesterday's losses into tomorrow's capital. Emotional fatigue, that gray heaviness many men feel in middle age, is not the exhaustion of work. It is energy trapped in regret. Free it, and the man rises. Direct it, and the man creates. When you take what you once called pain and reinterpret it as tuition, vitality returns. Every defeat was teaching you something essential about yourself. Do not abandon the lesson, convert it. I warn you, bitterness is only belief turned backward. It is faith with its face to the past. The cure is not denial, but reversal. Faith must look forward. To believe in failure is to worship delay. To believe in possibility is to command creation. The mind cannot hold both at once. You must choose. The moment you choose, energy moves. Understand this law. One well-directed year, born of clear decision, can equal 10 years of scattered effort. It is not time that multiplies results, it is focus. A single idea pursued with discipline yields more than a lifetime of half-hearted attempts. Purpose is the lens that concentrates all light into flame. Many men resist repetition because they confuse it with stagnation. They say, "I have heard this before." But repetition is the hand that carves belief into the mind. A man grows rich not from what he learns once, but from what he remembers daily. Thought repeated becomes command. Command becomes habit. Habit becomes destiny. The wise never tire of reinforcement. Adversity in middle age is not cruelty. It is purification. It strips away what was borrowed and leaves what is true. When a man endures difficulty after 40, it is life asking, "Will you now use what you know?" The same storm that destroys the weak polishes the strong. What you once called loss is now training in endurance. Controlled imagination can rebuild a man faster than any external aid. The mind is the silent workshop where reality is shaped. You must sit quietly each day and construct in thought the man you now decide to be. Do not hope, build. See yourself living with decision, working with calm purpose, speaking with conviction. The subconscious, fed these pictures repeatedly, begins to obey. Say this aloud each morning. Nothing I have lived is wasted. Every defeat refines me. Every disappointment strengthens my faith. I do not start over. I start higher. Speak it until it becomes your rhythm of thought. You will soon feel within you a new kind of fire, not youthful frenzy, but steady power. Consider Henry Ford. He failed repeatedly before the world believed in him. Every setback became blueprint, every ridicule a lesson. He never cursed failure, he redirected it. When investors withdrew, he invested deeper belief. When engineers doubted, he built alone. His triumph was not invention, it was redirection of energy. I once met a man who rebuilt his fortune after bankruptcy. He told me, "The day I lost everything was the day I stopped wasting my anger." He took the energy of humiliation and poured it into daily excellence. Within 3 years, he was wealthier and far calmer than before. Discipline turned loss into leverage. Dr. Frank Gonzalez once dreamed of building a college for poor youth. He had no money, only conviction. One Sunday, he preached a sermon not about poverty, but about faith in action. Within days, a benefactor gave him the $1 million he needed. His redirection was simple, from wishing to deciding. He aimed his belief outward, and the world responded. When you apply this law, your face changes. Others see in you not haste, but command. They sense direction. They notice that you do not waste breath on complaint, that you are not driven by comparison. They cannot explain your calm, but they respect it. Confidence begins to gather around you like an atmosphere. This is the second turning point of life after 40, from reaction to redirection. You will no longer fight what has been. You will use it. The years behind you will not drag you down. They will push you forward. For energy, once redirected, obeys thought as surely as the compass obeys the pole. Part 3. The Law of the Unshakable Mind. A man's true turning point comes when he rebuilds belief after disappointment. The one who can restore faith once it has been broken becomes indestructible. Fortune may vanish, friends may falter, years may pass, yet such a man continues forward, for his power no longer depends on circumstance. The unshakable mind rests upon what I call the still foundation. It is the settled conviction that thought rightly guided rules life absolutely. When you reach this state, no change in fortune can disturb your center. You have seen too much to doubt. You know that every storm passes and that mastery means endurance until it does. Most men at 40 fail not because they are tired, but because they doubt renewal. They tell themselves, "My best days are gone." Such words become prophecy. Belief is the architect of experience. When a man believes decline is inevitable, decline obeys him. But when he believes renewal is natural, youth returns in new form, calm, focus, and authority. Faith must be rebuilt daily. Just as the body strengthens through repetition, the mind maintains power only through practice. You cannot live on yesterday's conviction. You must speak faith each morning until it becomes your permanent tone. What you repeat, you reinforce. What you reinforce, you become. Consider Abraham Lincoln. He faced ridicule, failure, and despair. Yet through each defeat, he built endurance. When his country fractured, his calm steadied millions. His greatness was not sudden. It was forged through years of quiet perseverance. His faith became his constitution. Applied faith is not belief without evidence. It is action before evidence appears. It is the decision to act as though success were already settled. Those who wait for proof never move. Those who move create proof. The man who acts from conviction bends reality to match it. After 40, fear disguises itself as realism. It says, "Be practical," when it means, "Be small." You must learn to recognize this mask and tear it away. There is prudence, yes, but prudence guided by purpose, not by doubt. Boldness is not recklessness. It is obedience to faith. I call this mastery mental permanence. It is the ability to hold thought steady until results appear. Most men shift goals as easily as the wind changes direction. The unshakable mind holds its picture of success unwaveringly. The world adjusts in time. Reality bends to endurance. Others will notice the difference. They will speak of your calm authority, your confidence under pressure, your quiet magnetism. They will say, "He cannot be rattled." What they feel is faith solidified into presence. Influence is not loud, it is consistent. When your mind no longer wavers, circumstances lose power over you. Do not fear repetition of vision. Repetition is not childish, it is creation's heartbeat. The sun rises daily to repeat light. The heart beats to repeat life. You must repeat your faith until it becomes permanent rhythm. The man who can repeat conviction longer than others can doubt will always prevail. To rebuild self-respect after failure, begin with small promises kept. Promise to wake early, to study daily, to speak kindly. Each promise kept repairs confidence. Soon, larger promises obey. Discipline is the bridge from remorse to renewal. Every kept promise whispers to the mind, you can trust yourself again. Say each morning, I am not moved by appearances. My faith is my foundation. I build again stronger. Every day I repeat what I believe until life itself must agree. These words are the architecture of unshakable thought. Speak them not once, but until their truth feels inevitable. Edison's calm through thousands of failures proved that certainty outweighs evidence. Carnegie's serenity in crisis showed that command of mind governs outcome. I once knew a man who lost his fortune yet refused panic. He worked quietly, rebuilt gradually, and earned a respect wealth alone could not buy. His peace became his power. The decisive moment after 40 is not physical but spiritual. It is the day you stop begging life for proof and begin dictating its terms. The battle is not with time, but with doubt. Once faith conquers doubt, all else yields naturally. When you embody this law, others sense it before you speak. They defer to your presence, trust your counsel, and admire your steadiness. Age becomes your crown. Failure becomes your foundation. Life becomes the mirror of your faith. You cease to chase opportunities. They begin to find you. This is the fulfillment of the promise, the turning point. It is not a single event, but a settled way of being. The man who lives by these three laws, realization of time, redirection of energy, and mastery of faith, stands above the years. His power does not age, it compounds. You must now decide. You can drift as before, or you can stand today upon your still foundation and declare, this is my hour, my mind is unshakable, my faith is final, my life from this day forward obeys my decision. And when you do, life itself will pause, listen, and obey. For the man who commands himself commands time.